Good evening. It is 4:15 and we can start right on time. So thank you all for coming down to the first subcommittee meeting for the community colleges. We're glad to have you here. You might recognize our member, Senator Brannon, Senator Delano, and Senator McClendon. And also Senator Williams is sitting in with us today. We're glad to have you with us. And also we have a new analyst with us today, that's Lee Pittman, who's sitting in for Charlie Rome today. So welcome. So we'll start this hearing, community colleges. Please.
From Jones College, Dr. Jesse Smith, and our Executive Director of the State Board, Kel Smith, and some of our supporters here in the gallery. We really wanted to make sure that we leave enough time for you guys to ask any questions, not only about our budget, but just any burning questions you may have about our community college system in the state. We are blessed, a lot like the legislature, to have made it through the fall. We all 15 of us finished our classes in person, so we had a good fall, and we've cautiously all reopened in person. Most of us begin classes today with semi-full dorms and full athletic teams and health programs and all that. So we're praying that we continue to have a good, strong semester because we really are worried about the well-being of our students and their social interactions and their ability to be back on our campuses safely, but still there learning and progressing. You have a document that really talks about the increases that we've asked for and maybe the reasonings behind those with our LBR requests and some of the needs that we have. Dr. Smith and I have probably been coming up here since about 2000. And you guys have always been very supportive. We've always felt like you're advocates for community colleges. And so we started looking back with all this talk about inflation being at the forefront. So we really said, well, let's go back to 2000. Our enrollment has certainly increased significantly since 2000. But we said if we just kept the bare minimums, if we just went back a little over 20 years and we looked at where we were, and if we just kept up with inflation, what would our appropriation need to be? And unfortunately, we're about 47 million below just what inflation would put us if you funded us the exact same level you did in 2000. We've certainly been called on since 2000 to expand and open up new things with workforce and healthcare, in addition to all the other things that we've done. So it's tough. I mean, businesses, colleges, households, everybody has to have 61% more money today to do the exact same thing that you were doing in 2000. And for government, that's probably even more challenging because I don't know if 61% even keeps up because of some of the regulations that we've been under. We built a building in Grenada, a biology building in 2011, and it cost us $190 a square foot to build that. We already own the land in Ridgeland, and we got a quote from JH&H Architects to build a new allied health building, and he said to budget $400 a square foot today to build that. So that building cost has doubled, in 12 years for us. But I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Smith and let him go over these 4 priorities. And again, we want to leave plenty of time for you guys to ask questions, and then let Kel go through the agency budget, make sure that we understand it.
Thank you, Dr. Haffey. It is good to be with everybody today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing us to be here today to share our request. It's nice to see you all. Hope you've had a wonderful holiday. We would like to reiterate the fact that the historical support of the legislature, we couldn't be who we are. We couldn't be the oldest and the best community college system in America if it wouldn't have been for the foresight of our predecessors and the continued support throughout that. I think Dr. Haffey made a great point, and it's about sustainability, of being able to sustain this system that we have in place that has helped so many people in our state. I am a product of the community college system coming from a rural farm background. Very thankful for the education that I was able to get. And so to continue that, to be able to reach populations of people who are definitely in need of quality education, we need to focus on the sustainability. And so on the back of this document, you'll see the presidents of each of the 15 community colleges. We worked together as a team and came up with these recommendations to be submitted to the legislature. It was submitted formally to the Legislative Budget Office through our budget request, and you have more than likely seen those figures of how that looks and what the Legislative Budget Office has recommended. And so we'd like to first talk about that in the broad categories on the first page, and the first is salary improvements. So we have requested an $11 million increase over last year to go toward a 3% increase in paying salaries to our employees. As we know that there is a statewide movement to see teacher pay raises, and so that is, we support that 100%. We believe we should be investing in those who are taking care of our future. But it also needs to be, we need to see it at our level as well, because sometimes the local high school will be able to pay more for the same teacher that we may need at the college. And that is not an uncommon thing. So we bring that to your attention to see that we need to see some improvements there as well. And we appreciate all the support that we have gotten over time for the support of that. But we do need some support there as well. The second priority is requesting an increase in the funding formula of $250 per full-time student, and that equates to about $15 million. At the time when we calculated this, the state of Mississippi was reimbursing us at about approximately $2,600 per FTE, and an FTE is 30 semester credit hours. As time progressed over this last year, because our enrollment decreased, that number moved from 2,600 to 2,900. But still, overall, we do need to see a $250 increase for the cost of educating these students. And priority number 3.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Can you speak in the mic a little bit more, because the ones on YouTube cannot hear?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Is that better?
Much better here.
Thank you. Going back to that, so we would request a $250 per full-time student increase over last year on the funding formula increase. Priority number 3 is to request a $10.5 million increase over, let me say this, restate that, $10.5 million for career and technical programs and equipment. Last year, we had the CTE Advantage program, which was funded at $5 million. So we're requesting at $10.5 million. And the reason is this allows each of the colleges the opportunity to expand the high demand career and technical fields, which are becoming very prevalent in the marketplace, number one. And number 2, it allows us to start new programs that we may not have that may be related to business and industry in our area. And lastly, the educational technology. We're requesting a little less than $3 million of an increase related to technology. And this is just basically to keep our infrastructure working. As a result of the increased requirement and the use of advanced technologies, for instance, learning management system. Every course that is taught has a mirror virtual reality on the Canvas systems. It was built so students could take their courses. If they have to be on campus, It can be done in that LMS or if at home, is to create that simultaneous, synchronous education component so we can be able to serve students who can't be on campus. And it's quite expensive to use. Number two is the enhanced bandwidth that we need to be able to do that. And the last part of that is to the enhanced security that we've got to do with each of those. So these are very minimal cost requirements, but we think they're conservative estimates that would be very useful of the state's investment into the system focusing on sustainability. So I'll yield to my colleagues to discuss the lower section of the program.
Thank you. You'll see in the blue shaded area our last priority. It's maybe a little bit outside of appropriations. One of them, of course, is our normal bond request of $35 million. When you split that 15 ways, it's a little over $2 million per college. That doesn't go all that far these days. We operate, just Holmes Community College, we operate 4 locations. So you really have to save up your bonds for probably 4 or 5 years before you can build a new building, and you have to use your county money and some of your other tuition money to maintain the buildings that you have. But $35 million will keep us moving ahead, which we all want to do. And there does seem to be a significant amount of unallocated funds. Right now, maybe over $500 million sitting there. So we would like to not incur recurring costs with that money, but we feel like a one-time infusion of $40 million will allow us to significantly expand some much-needed allied health programs, the technology infrastructure, and also the safety protocols and infrastructure that we need right now. If you guys don't have any questions, I will turn it over to Kale to talk about the agency budget.
Thank you, Dr. Haffey. Thank you, members of the committee. Am I coming in loud enough? Thank y'all for allowing us to come today to visit with y'all about our budget priorities for FY23. I just want to take a couple of seconds to give y'all an update on the agency, what our priorities are. Since 1986, the Community College Board has played a small part in the success of each of our community college institutions, something that we're incredibly proud of. And since July, I've been serving as interim executive director of the agency. I've been with the agency since 2008, so I've been around for a while now. And so I've seen firsthand over the years the tremendous jobs that each of the community colleges does, whether it's academic offerings or workforce training or career and technical education. So there's no better investment in the state resources than to a community college, in my opinion. We're incredibly grateful for the increases that y'all gave to us last year. We hope that y'all can build on that based on the priorities that Dr. Smith and Dr. Haffey mentioned earlier today. From an agency perspective, our request is simple. We're just asking for level funding at the FY 2022 budget level. Our priority is to make sure the colleges have the needs and resources and tools, or the resources and tools they need in order to provide the services to our students. So we're asking for level funding. On behalf of the Community College Board, thank you for the work y'all will do throughout the session. I think we may be the first appropriation hearing for the Senate this year. So thank y'all for allowing us to come and share a few minutes about our priorities. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my part.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee members? Okay, Senator Delano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this question probably is going to go to Chairman of Appropriations, but the numbers that we're seeing, especially for federal funds, how are we going to handle that this year? Well, I know we had a dump of a lot of federal funds in last fiscal year. Are we going to be able to see how those numbers are going to fall out for this year, and then the requests that are being made through their presentation today? Am I assuming that these are all general fund requests, I mean, other than the bond request that's down in blue, but are these general fund requests? Or are you looking for some, to be able to use some of our federal funds, and you're looking for spending authority? So, Mr. Chairman, I've kind of broken that up into a couple of things. Is there a way that you would like to see your chairman, subcommittee chairman, ask questions with respect to these general funds?
Thank you. Hello, testing. I think you can hear me now.
We can hear you.
Mr. Chairman. Senator Delano, yeah, I would say it's up to you, each subcommittee chair and members of the subcommittee, as to which questions they want to ask. Obviously, in the last 2 years and this year too, there'll be a lot of funds that'll come through our budget which are not general funds. I'm typically more focused on the general funds for setting the budget at least, but I certainly pay attention to the general and other funds that come through. Now, if there's something specific for community colleges that you want to address with them, fire away as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I would think that'd be the approach that you take on, as a subcommittee chair, which you are. The approach that I would be taking on all of those is to find out what federal funds are coming and going, and other funds are coming and going. But when we put the budget together, I'm going to be looking to you for general fund ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just want to follow up real quick with Jesse. Jesse, are these dollar amounts that you have here, are these all general fund dollars that you're requesting use of?
Priorities 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all general fund requests. Priority 5, the unallocated funds in the JLBR, those are state dollars that are unallocated, and we have separate requests for federal dollars that we do not have those here, but we have been working with various committees. I think our group has worked with a request from Senator Polk regarding 3 specific projects for the federal dollar request.
Okay. Thank you. One last question I have regarding the board budget itself. I see that there's 47 full-time, time-limited pins that were reduced from the LBR number. Can you give us or can you tell me what those pins are, and are they needed? Do you need them added back?
They are not needed. Those are pins that for the Early Childhood Academy that we were operating that reverted back to DHS, and then another grant, the Mississippi Apprenticeship Program, that is now at the Department of Employment Security. So we don't need them back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator McClendon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the salary improvements, does that include PERS, or is that just strictly the salary?
It is calculated with the PERS increase as well. Correct. That is correct, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Well, if there are none,
Mr. Chairman, I would like
Yes.
to take a point of privilege to say thank you on behalf of my colleagues, but also wanted to recognize the fact that in tonight's national championship football game, there is an MACC player. He plays quarterback for Georgia. His name is Stetson Bennett, and he is played at Jones College and transferred back. And there are a number of great athletes that are on the headlines that came through the Mississippi Community College Football League.
thank you. Speaking of football, I having a chance to talk to folks from around the world from time to time. They don't talk about ACC football. They talk about our great community college system, and I'm very pleased that we have something to brag about, and I appreciate the job you all are doing. So thank you for the job we're doing, and we're looking forward to a very good partnership going forward, continuing the partnership.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much.
That's it? Rising report. It's done.